So let's watch ISC real quick before we actually jump into the PTU then, right? A siege is upon us, so they're going to talk about Siege of Orison again?
It's our last episode of the quarter, the patch is just around the corner, and speaking of which, what's in
How many corners?
this quarter's Alpha 3.17.2 anyway? Let's recap in this quarter's patch report. Up first, let's start with some character items, and these new variants of the RRS Specialist Heavy Armor coming to Alpha 3.17.2, including this traditional camo variant,
Okay.
an Arctic variant,
Oh, I love it.
and perhaps my personal favorite, the radiation-resistant Fallout variant.
The thing, me and PC had this, didn't we? I had the arm for this. Remember?
There's also a new Grey
PC, those are the arms you stole from me.
Cat backpack specifically for the purpose of collecting salvage in preparation for when that day arrives. And for subscribers, here's a blast from Star Citizen's past with a look at the exploration-themed vintage spacesuit commemorating RSI's first commercial spaceship, the Zeus. Be sure you keep an eye out for that when it becomes available in the coming months.
Okay, so subscriber item, anybody? And, like, watch this thing be the meta. And everybody's just flying around looking like a
Microtech and
potato.
ArcCorp, you'll discover a number of new space stations being added that will make travel to and from these Stanton Classics easier than ever before, while adding additional visual flair through gas clouds at the Lagrange points, similar to those found around other planets.
Cool.
With so much of the focus on the upcoming Pyro these days, it's important to keep refining and improving the locations of Stanton, and that includes the addition of more medical rooms at Grimhex. Because with all the recent player pirate activity, it was causing a bit of a traffic jam at times. Adding additional hangar exteriors for rest stops.
Asnog, I think you're talking about what I'm going to mention here, but I'm not 100% sure. Shouldn't I can never say it right, the JD, I can never say it, but you know I'm talking about the little miniature guys that have the license for Star Citizen? I'm not really into the ships, but I would totally get the miniatures of a space station. And like JDRF, okay, and have those over there. I would love that, because some of the space stations are so cool.
Enabling the addition of more small and medium hangars for ships to these locations and the ability to summon and store a greater variety of spacecraft along the way. And down on the surface of our planets, the beginnings of our derelict outpost rollout, starting with these relics of past life in the verse on Microtech.
Hey look, it's Florida.
Designed to create more opportunities for exploration, missions, loot, and the like, 3.17.2 will find several here as more are added in subsequent patches throughout the remainder of this year. And speaking of missions, Alpha 3.17.2 has additions and refinements galore, starting with the revamp of the Combat Assist Service Beacon system, aiming to provide a more natural progression for players from fighting tiny Aurora all the way up to massive Idrises, or Idri, or Idro, I don't know. There's also more collect and delivery mission progression for the dedicated criminal element and those who maybe just want a little more scratch by stepping just outside the lines of the law sometimes.
Hell yeah. So I am excited sort of for these, but I think that they're just going to be very similar to the other ones. I hope there's some risk or...
And then there's the new Crashed Reclaimer Derelict Settlements, which come with a variety of new missions.
That's the raft, Amadeus.
Requiring players to explore, attack, defend, and otherwise experience the majesty of these fantastic new locations made possible with help from the next major milestone from our AI team, Dynamic Planetary Nav Mesh, which will allow mission designers to begin adding NPC life to not just these new derelicts, but any other curiosities you might find on the surface of Stanton's planets and moons.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are the first at any landing location, but what I really would love to see one day is when you just go to a random lawful mining outpost and there's life, and there's people working, and they're inside, they're outside, they're doing things. And one day I hope they respond to you, and they're not floating, and they're not standing on a chair, T-posing, and just ignoring the fact that you even exist, other than the weird random stare that they give you occasionally.
And if you thought the crashed reclaimers were the only new derelicts to explore in Alpha 317.2, be sure you head out into the farthest reaches of Stanton.
As a matter of fact, this is the first thing I want to show you
And
guys.
discover for yourself a host of new mission content linked to these brand new space-bound derelicts included in this quarter's patch as well.
Oh, I have PTSD. I wish I could tell you what happened to me in Evocati at that location.
Then finally, the big mammer jammer dynamic
craziest
event of them
bug I
all
ever
so
had.
far. The Siege of Orison is bringing with it an FPS event the likes of which has never been attempted in Star Citizen, pitting players against the criminally industrialist Ninetales in a battle to decide how Orison should be pronounced. Is it Orison or Orison?
Orison,
Potato,
right?
tomato, we may never know. But the battle across this new expansion to the Orison landing zone will be an involved one with many, many fronts. Can you tell I recorded the patch report at a different time? But while we're talking about the Siege of Orison, while we do want to leave most of its twists and turns for you to discover on your own, we did ask Luke and Elliot from the mission feature team.
Bro, why is he in this room where they're making all the fucking noise? They had to change the voice to remove the background noise a little bit. You could hear it. Why is he still in this room?
For some helpful hints to this year's major event. Let's see what they had to say in a segment that we're calling Siege of Orison, Top 10 Pro Tips.
This event is like nothing you've experienced in
this is
Star
cool.
Citizen so far. You will need to prepare. You will need ammo, weapons, armor. Otherwise, you will not make it out alive.
Luke, what about medical? We need medical as well.
For this event, we have a IFI, which is the Identifier Friend or Foe Inverter. And basically what that does is that's going to turn the platform's turrets onto the side of the Ninetales. It also affects the restricted area, so you won't be able to fly your ship in.
These new platforms are huge, and we have done the best we can to sign these and put maps up all over the place that show you, like, you are here.
You'll find signage all around that shows you where shuttles are to get between the islands. However,
They are slightly different to how shuttles currently work. They're more like elevators in that you have to call them to your location, and when you get in, you have to send them to the next location. So
Which
be
is
aware of
awesome.
you can't get
And
to all
probably
the
how the
islands
shuttle
via the
should
shuttles,
work.
but we've put enough toys around to allow you to get there a different way.
that. So there are various locked containers all over the island. You'll need a code to get into them.
Make sure to check them all because they have a multitude of surprises. We've added a maze in this somewhere. Just remember that you can't jump as far when you're wearing heavy armor. This event might
Okay.
take a while, so don't forget to loot your fallen enemies.
They got
We
medical on
decided
them.
we weren't going to hold the player's
I would like to loot my fallen enemies. Hopefully we don't have the loot bug.
hand in this mission. There are a lot of optional secret objectives that players will have to figure out for themselves.
With combat assist service beacons, illegal collect and delivery missions, a variety of new missions and NPC opportunities embedded in the new Reclaimer derelicts, the
That's
Siege
cool.
of Orison, and more, Alpha 317.2 may have the numbering of just a little tiny point patch, but there's a whole bunch of new gameplay packed with it. Now that about does
Because it's not. It's all the stuff that was planned for 318, right? It's the things that were planned for 318 that could go into 317, and that's what's cool about this patch is it feels like it's got some content, but we're gonna make sure, what is it, PES, whatever you want to call it, gets its time and gets worked out.
does it for this quarter's
great.
ISE, but keep an eye on the robertspaceindustries.com website for details on the release of Alpha 317.2 while we're on our regularly scheduled hiatus. And when we come back, maybe we'll do so from inside the new performance capture stage being built right next door.
So this isn't the performance capture stage.
We're inside
which
Star
is what a lot of
Citizen.
people thought it
I'm
was.
Jared Huckabee, closing out once more from the very noisy 9th floor of the Manchester Goods Yard building. And this is where I'm told Aaron Roberts' office is going to be. So let me just clean these windows here a bit. We'll see you all next month.
I don't think there's anything at the end. No. All right. So that was ISC. I think it's a little weird because we now have 317.2. It's just the way my schedule works. I stream early in the morning, and yeah, all this stuff comes out in the afternoon. But I'm pretty happy that 317.2 is what it is. The major feature that would have held back 318 gets to stay there, and we get a lot of the content that would have come to it. And I think it's a win-win for us in a lot of ways. And yeah, I hope we see 317.2 make its way through, because basically a lot of people are asking when is the wipe going to be, all those things. Well, based on my, just stupid information that I, create this idea in my own head, is they want the free fly to be on July 7th. I don't think they're going to do a free fly in 317.1 again, because they've already done it in 317. I think they're going to do it in 317.2. So you would hope that they're going to try and push this patch through to live by the 7th. So we'll see what happens. That would be a week from today.